Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
And welcome to our Friday night in-person Shabbat service here at Temple Shalom Emeth in Burlington. And welcome to all of you watching live streamed as well. I'm Cantorial Soloist Ben Silver, and you will see our Rabbi soon enough, Rabbi Susan Abramson. And I'd like to start off with a song or two, or even three. And let's start off with a contemporary version of Shalom Aleichem, words to which are on page 627. There's a young, I'm not sure if he's so young anymore, but a Jewish singer named Sheldon Lowe, and this is his version, a rhythmic version of Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachim l'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachuni l'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seidchem l'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And let's do another song, maybe quiet it down a little bit with this one called Hapore Sukkot Shalom. And I think it's on page 664 in our Sidurs, right here at the bottom of the page. Baruch Atah Adonai, Hapore Sukkot Shalom. Shalom Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch Atah Adonai, Hapore Sukkot Shalom. Shalom Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael. V'al Yerushalayim, v'al kol amo. V'al Yerushalayim, Shalom. V'al Yerushalayim, v'al kol amo. V'al Yerushalayim, Shalom. Baruch Atah Adonai, Hapore Sukkot Shalom. Shalom Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom Aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael. Are you ready? Or shall we maybe now that you've passed out shakers, we might have to
I know we need to shake a little.
we need to pick things up again. Give you something to
Quieted
shake
things
about.
down, now we have to rev them up
That's
again.
right, that's right. Which is fine. How about the song Romamu, which is not really in the back of the book with all the songs. It's kind of integrated into the book itself, and I keep trying to remember which the good page to say, but I can't remember. Romamu, we'll have to look it up. It is in here. But it's a very short song, and many of you would be able to pick up the words anyway. So we'll start it off, and you can shout out the page number. It is in the index, so that I'll tell you which page it is. Romamu. Okay, say it again.
367.
Ishtakabu, lehad kocho. Thank you. Romamu, Adonai Eloheinu, v'ishtakabu, lehad kocho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtakabu lehad kocho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtakabu lehad kocho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtakabu lehad kocho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtakabu lehad kocho. V'ishtakabu lehad kocho. V'ishtakabu lehad kocho.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Good.
Now we're ready for Shabbat. Welcome, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. Ben already introduced us, so I'm not going to do it again. You don't need to know who we are anyway. If you don't know who we are by now, then something is terribly wrong.
They might have forgotten.
Anyway, we're going to begin our service with the lighting of the Shabbat candles, which you may find on pages 120 and 121. I'd like to invite Mindy Stanley, who is our Oneg Shabbat provider this evening. And even better, our gluten-free Oneg Shabbat provider to light the candles.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen, 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 amen.
And now that we've lit the lights of Shabbat, we're going to continue by welcoming the Shabbat bride with the singing of L'chad Odi on page 138.
Feel free to shake along if Mindy's doing Lecha dodi lekrat kala Pnei Shabbat mikabela Lecha dodi lekrat kala Pnei Shabbat mikabela Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Ishmiyanu el am yuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad V'shemu tiferet v'litila Lecha dodi lekrat kala Pnei Shabbat mikabela Lecha dodi lekrat kala Pnei Shabbat mikabela Verse 5 Hitoruri Kiva ore Umi ori Shida beheri Kevod Adonai alayich nigla Lecha dodi lekrat kala Pnei Shabbat mikabela Lecha dodi lekrat kala Pnei Shabbat mikabela Last verse Boi v'shalom Ateret ba'ala Gam b'simcha U'tzahola Toch emuni Am segula Boi kala Boi kala Lecha dodi lekrat kala Pnei Shabbat mikabela Lecha dodi lekrat kala Pnei Shabbat mikabela Pnei Shabbat mikabela
And now that we've lit the Shabbat candles and welcomed the Shabbat bride, we've concluded our first section of our service called Kabbalat Shabbat, or Welcoming of the Sabbath. And we now continue with the second section of our service called the Shema Uvirchoteha, the Shema and its blessings, which you may find on page 146. We rise for the Baruch Hu. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due, now and forever.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorah. Baruch Adonai Hamavorah Leolam Va'ed.
Page 148. We continue with a new singing version of the Ma'ariv Aravim.
Okay, we first heard this done this way at a service that we were watching online that took place in the Ukraine, and so it's something that we've tried it a little bit since then. It's still a little new for us, but we like it very much. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim ma'ariv aravim B'chachma poteach she'arim Uvidvuna mishaneh itim Umachalif et hazmanim Umsader et hakochavim במשמרותיהם, ברקיע כרצונו. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו הריב ערבים, מעריב הערבים. בורא יום והלילה, כולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לשלום. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הערבים. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הערבים.
We read together at the top of page 149. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Page 150.
Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu lemadita, otanu lemadita. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shachteinu uvkumenu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. We now continue with the Shema, the watchword of our Jewish faith, on pages 152 and 153. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. Please join me on page 154 as we chant the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shachpecha uv'kumecha uv'shartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot ben enecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We'll read together. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Now we continue on page 158 with the singing of Mi Chamocha, the song the Israelites sang when they crossed the Red Sea to freedom from Pharaoh's grip.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilo oseh peleh, Nora tehilo oseh peleh, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Ma'utecha ra'u banecha בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ויאמרו, זה אלי ענו ויאמרו. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
Praise thee, you Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. And we continue with the Hashkivenu prayer on page 160. And the Hashkivenu prayer is the prayer asking God to provide a shelter of peace over us. And when we sing this prayer this evening, we think about, in addition to all of us, we think about those in Ukraine who are in harm's way. We also think about people in Israel who have suffered some losses this week.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'Chaim. Ushmor Tzeteinu Uvoeinu L'chaim u'shalom me'ata v'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim.
Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Continue with Vishamru. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time, on page 162.
This is a version of Vishamru that we've only done once or twice before, and again, one that we heard from the service in Ukraine, although I had heard it before occasionally in the last year or two, but I'm not sure where it came from, but we'll call it the Ukrainian version from now. And we'll go through it a couple of times, so I think you'll pick it up after a while. Oh, say, wait a minute, oh, Vishamru. You know what?
You take all back everything you
I take back everything I said.
April Fools.
That's right, that's right. It's almost like opposite day then. I was sort of in my mind thinking that we're about to do this new version of Oseh Shalom, but anyway. So we will do the more familiar version of Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorot berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorot berit olam. B'nei uvein B'nei Yisrael, Ohodi le'olam. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam.
That concludes that section of our service, and we continue with the next section called the Tofila, which means the prayer, on page 164. And this is the part of the service that reminds us that God is the God of our ancestors, the God who gives us strength, and the God who brings us peace. We rise in body or spirit in 164.
Anananananana Adonai, Anananananana Sfatai Tivta, Ananananana Ufi Yagid תהילתך. אננננננננ אדוני. אנננננננ שפתי תפתח. אנננננננ ופי יגיד. ופי יגיד תהילתך. אנננננננ אדוני. אננננננ שפתי תפתח. אננננננ ופי יגיד. ופי יגיד תהילתך. אננננננ אדוני. אננננננ שפתי תפתח. אננננננ ופי יגיד. ופי יגיד תהילתך. אננננננ אדוני. אננננננ שפתי תפתח. אננננננ ופי יגיד. ופי יגיד תהילתך. Page 166. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevi geula livnei v'nehem, lema'an shemo v'yahava, melech ozer, u'moshia u'magin, Baruch atah Adonai, magin, Avraham v'ezrat Sarah. Page 168. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol ata rav lehoshia, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, sohamech nahofim berofei cholim, umatir asurim, umkahayim emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melech, melech mimi, umchayehi, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lehachayot ha'akol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye ha'akol. Page 170. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yohalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Please be seated. We read together on the top of page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Now continue with the singing of Shalom Rav, a song for peace, on page 178.
Shalom Rav, al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon, lechol Shalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tav be'enecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. B'chol ed ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. Tasim leolam.
Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people, forever, for you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamvarech et Amo Yisrael Bashalom. We now continue with the Misha Beirach Get Well prayer, which you may find on page 371. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. This evening we think in particular of Agnes Bales, Benjamin Schwartz Feit, Anna Singer, Michael Nussbaum. We also think of all of those in Ukraine and also those who are refugees who have fled from Ukraine, who are scattered around the world at this moment. We think of those who are suffering from COVID and who are suffering from all maladies as well. We think of the people of Israel who are suffering from terrorist attacks over the past 2 weeks. And at this time, if there are names of others you'd like us to keep in our hearts and our minds, we prepare to recite the Misha Beirach prayer. You may say their names aloud as I look across the room.
Sam Silver.
Rose Kelly.
May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for all of their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send all of them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen.
Misha Beirach Avotinu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Beirach imotenu Mekor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
And now on Shabbat, we're commanded not to think of our worries or our problems at all, but to think about all the things that we're grateful for in our lives. And so as we prepare to recite the Shachianu prayer, thanking God for enabling us to reach this moment, I just wanted to mention some things that I'm grateful for right now, and then I'll invite you all to say some things that you're grateful for. I'm grateful for that. I was able to go to Carlton Willard Village Senior Living Center just yesterday for the first time in 2 years, to be able to meet with people there and to just share some time and conversation. So that was a wonderful sign that things are getting back to normal a little bit. I just celebrated, I was just with many Reform rabbis virtually, but I was still kind of with them at the Reform Rabbis Convention this past week when we honored the 50th anniversary of the ordination of the first woman rabbi, Sally Presand. So it was great to be there for that, and I'm considered one of the, I'm not happy about this one, but I'm considered one of the Vatikot, which means elders, elder women. Yeah, not mixed feelings about that one.
Older and wiser.
I'm also thankful that this week, you might not have heard about this, but in Sde Boker in Israel, for the very first time ever, members of 4 different Arab nations got together with representatives of the state of Israel to talk about how everybody could work together and build an economic relationship and a security relationship. So that was just an amazing accomplishment. And so I'm grateful that happened for the first time ever. And we have a new month. Tonight we're celebrating the beginning of the new month of Nisan, which you're going to hear a little bit more about later. And every day when I walk now, I see more flowers sprouting from the ground. So to me, these are the most important flowers of the year for me, are the very first ones that come up after the winter. So at this time, if there are others of you who would like to share a Shehechianu moment or something that you're grateful for, the floor is yours. Yes, Fran, shockingly.
I apologize that I was a few minutes late, but when I was picking up Phyllis, and we were on time, I got a text from my daughter that said that Dahlia, my grandbaby, is saying, "Grandma, phone. Grandma, phone." So I said to Phyllis, if she'll go in ahead, we need to FaceTime a few minutes with the baby. So that was her request. And I'll stop now.
So that was definitely a Shehechianu moment, that Fran's totally adorable granddaughter Dahlia has begun saying "Grandma, phone," because she does not live locally. So this is a very huge Shehechianu moment.
It sounds like E.T. phone home, I just realized. It's original.
Thank you, Val.
And Mark and I are grateful to be planning a trip to Brooklyn to celebrate our grandson's first birthday.
So Val and Mark are about to go to New York to celebrate baby James' first birthday. So that's definitely a Shehechianu moment. Excellent. Anybody else?
Well,
Well, come on over.
my son, we
So I
have
don't have to
finally
repeat.
we have finally reached the end of waiting for these college responses, acceptances or rejections, and it's been a tough season for this year, but he's gotten a few disappointments, but on the other hand, he got accepted into Brandeis and into UMass Amherst, and he got on the wait list for Cornell. And so with those 3 situations and choices, we feel like the worst is over and we have some nice decisions to make, and we're glad to get through that and glad that he came out as well as he did.
Excellent. So as long as you're up there, why don't you?
Let's sing a song. This next version of this song needs no introduction because we already had it. And this is the Oseh Shalom.
No, the Shehechianu.
Oh, the Shehechianu. See, I didn't get enough sleep last night. I warned you before. Okay, we are going to get yes, we are about to sing Shehechianu, not Oseh Shalom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
We now pause for a moment of silent prayer. And we now continue with the song that Ben has been wanting to sing all during the service.
Never mind.
Oh, say shalom.
Oh, say shalom.
Finally.
All right, I hope you enjoy this version of it. Oh, say shalom bimromav, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei shevel, v'imru, amen. Try it with me. Oh, say shalom bimromav, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. La 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 la. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Oh, say shalom bimromav, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen.
It was worth the wait.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Dayenu, it would have been enough if this were just Shabbat, but it is also Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the beginning of the Hebrew month Nisan. According to Jewish tradition, it's one of the 4 New Years during the year. It's the month of Passover, which will begin in just 2 weeks. We are told to read a special part of the Torah from the book of Exodus on this week, which talks about the Passover Sacrifice to remind us of the holiday. It would be much easier for me to talk about this special additional Torah reading tonight than the main Torah reading for this Shabbat. Tazria is one of the 2 most disgusting Torah portions in the entire Torah, the second being Mitzorah, which we will read next week. This week's Torah portion brings fear to all rabbis and bar-mitzvah tutors who must somehow figure out a way to find something relevant or even palatable to their students' lives and their own. Over the years, I have gone so far as to advise bar-mitzvah families not to choose this week, the Torah portion for this week for their service, just for this reason. Usually Tazria and Mitzorah are combined in the same week, but lucky us, Because it's a leap year, they are separated into 2 different weekly portions. The president of the CCAR just spoke about Tazria at our convention this past week. He described it as a portion that only a dermatologist would love. Tazria, which means childbirth, begins with laws regarding the details of women's uncleanliness after they give birth. It goes on to discuss in detail a whole range of skin diseases. No detail is spared. What the priest should do if someone should have a skin lesion which is white, scaly, spreading, has a black or white or yellow hair in the middle. What happens if it is on their head? Mindy's telling me to stop with a description. Or other parts of their body. What to do if it's swollen? What happens if someone's clothes have an infection in the warp or the woof? The most dramatic verse in the portion is Leviticus 13, verse 45. As for the person with a leprous infection, his clothes shall be rent, his head shall be left bare, and he shall cover his upper lip, and he shall call out, unclean, unclean. The priest's job in all of this is to determine who must be isolated for 7 days until the infection clears up, and how to determine when they are better and can return to the community. Why would I want to talk about this? Because unlike almost any other year, this portion now has huge relevance for us. In this era of COVID, whether we have had the disease of COVID or not, we have all been covering our mouths and fearing that each other are contagious or unclean. We have had to make up a whole new set of rules if we have the disease or were exposed to someone who had it or exposed to someone who may have been exposed to someone who had it to determine when we are cleared to return to the community, when the coast is clear. We're all trying to determine who around us, even in this room, might be infectious and who is clean. We have all had to be priests, examining others not only from up close but from afar, making determinations for ourselves, our family members, our friends, our community, about who is a potential carrier of the plague and who is safe to be near. After all the decades of reading this Torah portion, this is the first time when I have thought about what it must have been like for those with the contagious skin diseases and all of those around them. It must have been exhausting for all of those involved. These diseases don't just affect the body, but the soul and the spirit. What must it have been like for the afflicted person to have to cover his mouth and shout, unclean, unclean? Now we have a clue. Whether we have remained healthy throughout the pandemic or have recovered, it has afflicted every one of us on many levels. I can't think of one person who has been unchanged over the past 2 years. My sense is that we're all just a little bit depressed, all trying a little bit harder to keep our heads above water. We're all more skittish, more anxious, not to mention more paranoid. We can no longer simply interact with another human being without weighing in our mind the degree to which they may be a disease vector. I know that I myself have been changed in all of these ways. I'm feeling more isolated, and I crave and appreciate the company of others much more than before, even just saying hello to someone I pass on the street. I have a newfound gratitude just to be with another person and just to see all of you in person now each week. On the other hand, whenever I encounter anyone, instead of taking a step forward, I take a step back. And when someone gets within what I have subconsciously determined as my safe zone, I move away. And don't think, Ben, that I didn't see you just put your mask back on. I've become more paranoid about the transmission of viruses in general. As the restrictions have lifted and there is less of a chance that we will get COVID, but as there is a rise in other viruses, I've decided that not only don't I want to get COVID, but I also don't want to get the stomach bug or other respiratory illnesses. So I don't know when I'm going to feel free and comfortable to take my mask off again in large crowds. This new springtime month of Nisan is an opportunity for us to reflect on how we might be able to enjoy a new start in this new season of rebirth. We can begin by becoming our own priest, to take our own spiritual temperature and examine what afflictions may be ailing us. What do we need to heal about ourselves? What do we need to give ourselves permissions to do? When do we need to give ourselves permission to reemerge from isolation and enjoy the company of others, which we all so desperately need? How can we safely enjoy and gain the benefits of being part of our community? The Torah portion lays out some pretty straightforward instructions for the priest as to how they were to determine who is sick and who is well. When it comes to the actual COVID virus, this is as easy as taking a test to determine who is positive and who is negative. But when we think about the shame, the uncertainty, the insecurity of those who were cleared after suffering from skin diseases in ancient times, we realize that on an emotional level, re-engaging and reconnecting is quite challenging and complicated, and it's a process. So in this Shabbat, let's view each other with an extra measure of compassion as we struggle with the complications and implications of being part of a world possibly, hopefully, emerging from being overwhelmed by a contagious disease, a disease not just of the body, but of the soul, of the heart, and of the spirit. As we begin to think about Passover and the exodus from slavery to freedom, now is a good time to begin to think about where we are in that process. Dayenu, it's been more than enough for all of us. Let's help each other move to a healthier, better place. Amen.
Amen.
Now we're going to continue with the Aleinu on page 586. Please rise in body or spirit.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגוהר עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Please be seated.
And please join me at the top of page 588.
שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, קקתו בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, והארץ מתחת, אין עוד.
And please turn to page 591. Join me in the singing of Bayom Hahu.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. ושמו אחד, אחד ושמו אחד.
The introduction to the Cottage Prayer for those who have died may be found on page 599. We think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those who we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We recalled Gina Rippon, who died during this past month. We add to her name the names of those whose yahrzeits or anniversary of whose deaths occur this week. Max Baden, Louis Cutter, Gertrude Damelin, Florence Ozerski Simon. And we add to their name the names of the 11 Israelis who died during the past 10 days of terrorist attacks. We add to their names the names of those who, all of those thousands whose names we'll never know, who died in Ukraine. We think of all of those who have died of COVID over the past week, month, and years. And if this time, if there are names of others you'd like us to keep in our hearts and our minds as we prepare to recite the Cottage Prayer, you may say their names aloud or in your hearts as I look around the room. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. We rise to recite the Cottage Prayer on page 598, in body or spirit. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabba, v'yalma divrach chirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yamechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mivarach l'olam olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudesha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to our country, to Ukraine, to all Israel, and all the world, as we say together, Amen. Please be seated. And now I just wanted to, in lieu of there being a board member up here, and we really need to start that again, having a board member up here giving announcements. Anybody want to do it?
You got a list of them?
No? I do have a list up here.
There you go.
So if you can come up and read my mind, you could do that.
So whisper it in your ear.
Yeah. So I wanted to thank Mindy Stanley for sponsoring the oneg this evening, and I particularly love it when Mindy sponsored the onegs because I know almost everything is gluten-free. So looking forward to that, including our challah, which is up here. This is the first time we've had a new challah in months. Maybe I shouldn't say that for public consumption. Or personal consumption. So as I mentioned, Passover starts in two Fridays from now, so we will not have services 2 Fridays from now because everybody will be home at the first Seder. But we are going to have a temple second Seder, which is going to be here on Saturday, April 16th from 5 to 6 p.m. And you need to RSVP to Val Jacobs to come, and it's going to be different and the same from the Seders we've had in the past. We're going to go through the same Seder as we usually do, and we're going to discuss more about that after the service. With Ben and I will lead the service and possibly the band, but we haven't discussed that yet. But those band members out there, get ready. And We are not having a meal during the Seder because for COVID safety reasons, but we will do the blessings over all the traditional blessings, and we will have cups of wine as we usually do. And I've late breaking news: we have enough kosher wine in the kitchen for Passover, kosher for Passover wine. So I hope you join us for that. It's going to be free this year for the first time ever. So there should be no impediment to everybody coming, but there is a limit. And we will require that people wear masks and be vaccinated to attend it. So I hope you can join us. And if you're out watching out there, you can DM me, or if you're a temple member, contact Val. And I do have an announcement from Michael Finkel. I don't know if he's willing to make that announcement himself.
All right, I'll make it.
Okay. Do you want to come up here and make it?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't.
I know you weren't expecting to put you on this.
I hope it's going to be in your announcements, though.
It will be in my announcements, I promise.
Thank you. I was asking the rabbi last week if I have a ping pong table at home. I love the game, but I have no one to play with. So I decided to make it a temple club, just like they have a book club. Why not a ping pong club? So I am announcing, and hopefully through the announcements, that any temple member who loved ping pong in his or her youth, or even now, are welcome. I'm organizing something, maybe meeting once a month in my ping pong room in my house, and with maybe a little socializing, and so thank you, Susan. That was very nice of you.
You're welcome. So just for those of you out there, Michael just announced that he is starting a ping pong club for our community, and it's going to be once a month in his spacious basement. And if anybody's interested in that, you can contact him, and I promise it will be in the announcements this coming week, unlike it was this past week when I flubbed that up.
You're forgiven.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
Might mention that coming Friday night, the Gimel class will be leading this service. It will be one of our family services led by our students. And so it's a small class, but everybody is welcome. So more of you that can come, the better.
Excellent. Thank you. So we'll now continue with the Kiddush on pages 122 and 123.
Did Fran have a friend?
Oh, did you have an announcement?
I got Stop and Shop cards if anybody wants.
Okay, we have script here in case anybody wants it. Thank you. And we're going to continue with the Kiddush. Would anybody like to come up and lead us in the Kiddush? I'm opening up to the floor. Andy, do you want to come up and lead? Oh, you can't leave your post.
I'll take his post.
Okay.
That's a good excuse.
It didn't work.
Val
It doesn't
is
work
coming
out,
back
Andy.
to... Andy, thank you, Andy Rittenberg, for being our security person this evening, and Val is now coming back to take your place, so you can come up and lead the Kiddush, unless you come up with a better excuse.
He said he didn't know what to do, but it's easy.
You're gonna, it's all English.
Oh, Val's coming back.
All right. Michael, you wanna come up and lead the Kiddush just in English? Okay.
Mr. Ping Pong.
Please rise.
Tell me the page, please.
You're just right here.
Okay. Okay. Should I take this off?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Okay. The heaven and earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
L'chaim.
Thank you.
Good job. And now, Mindy, you want to come up and hold your challah, which you made for us so generously? Or made for me so generously?
Right. Together?
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together, as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. And our
And
closing
I suppose
song.
I think we should do Heveinu Shalom Aleichem. And I think
Okay,
that's.
because I was thinking maybe you were going to do Oseh Shalom again.
Oh, I didn't do that song, did I? Are you serious?
No.
We'll do it again next week. It's a warning. So Heveinu Shalom Aleichem, I'm sure you know that it's on page 644. And our version, the contemporary version, includes the words Hine Matov in the middle of it, which happens to be right under it anyway, so we're all set. No excuse not to join in. Shake along.
Heveinu Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem, Heveinu Shalom. Heveinu Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem, Heveinu Shalom. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Heveinu Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem, Heveinu Shalom. Heveinu Shalom Aleichem, Aleichem, Heveinu, Aleichem, Heveinu, Aleichem, Heveinu Shalom.
Play. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.